The graph on page 31 is quite telling when it comes to noise. You know, if we're talking about 323,000 people who are going to be hearing 51 decibels of noise, and these people will never have heard this noise before, and yet they don't know who they are. Even in my own constituency, we had Heathrow come to a meeting, and they were, just roundly trashed all the way through the meeting. But actually, most of the people in the room in Ascot didn't realise they were there because they were a bit annoyed about the existing noise. Most of the people in the room weren't even under the flight paths. They didn't even realise that they will be potentially under the flight paths. So how on earth can this decision be made when the people who are going to be affected don't know that they're going to be affected? This is really the wrong way round. And I think I'm very conscious of time, so I shall draw my remarks to a close. I think that so the promises aren't worth anything, particularly on the slots, and I would be very cautious about believing them. I think my questions to the Minister are as follows. If Heathrow do not build the runway once given permission by this very enthusiastic government, I really don't understand it, this very enthusiastic government committing to a single private sector company that virtually holds a monopoly anyway, bizarre behaviour in terms of market economics. If they do give the permission, what are they going to do if Heathrow then don't build the runway? Is there a penalty clause in there for Heathrow? Are we going to charge them several £billion for pretending to want to do something that they then don't go on to complete? Second is, when it comes to the Lakeside Energy from Waste plant, I notice that's the only recommendation. It's in my constituency. I notice it's the only recommendation that wasn't accepted. And yet it wasn't accepted with a single sentence. Well, we don't believe it's part of, it's a kind of nationally significant venture. Well, could I just ask the Minister, please will you publish the data on which you base that decision, given that the Lakeside Energy from Waste plant processes 40% of the hazardous waste in this country. That's enormously strategically important, and I'm surprised that there was no data available for the public to see the basis on which the decision was made. And again, at what point will the government actually back away from supporting a third runway at Heathrow? If it becomes clear that the noise levels cannot be reached, will the government back away and change their mind? If it becomes clear that the pollution, the air quality guidelines, the existing legislation cannot be met, will they back away? If so, how will they change that decision? And also, if it does turn out that the Lakeside Energy from Waste plant is going to be shut down and is going to cause a regional and possibly a national issue, again, at what point will the government change its mind? And I'm very cognizant that, if the government now were to change its mind, possibly beyond the next sort of 17 or 18 days, that then potentially we've opened up an enormous liability for the taxpayer if Heathrow in some way has been incurring costs from the moment that the NPS was published. So again, I'd like the Minister to explain how it is that, they've allowed this particular clause, which it does only apply to the Heathrow proposal. It wasn't there for the Gatwick and the other proposals earlier on. How they managed to apply this very strange proposal to underwriting the costs incurred by Heathrow, whether or not they go